Hello and welcome to
Wooden. No, Wooden. Actually, it's welcome to
Wooden. What you don't need. In today's episode, there will be the ultimate showdown between the monsters of Casio. The legendary F-91, the better watch but much less famous W-59, the even better watch familiarly known as the Greyman W-800H, and two honorable mentions that you see here. Another version of the F-91 and another version of the W-59. I have not bought yet another version of the W-800H, but you never know. As you can see, I have here my trusty micrometer or caliper, how you want to call it, and as everybody who has seen some of my videos know, I am
a professional, extraordinaire micrometer measurer.
Trained by none other than them. Who?
The Maître Horloger from Switzerland.
But let's cut to the chase. Oh, I was almost forgetting. We also have our trusty Silvercrest scale here. But let's cut to the chase. We are going to divide this video in 7 chapters, which I will disclose as we go along. Let's start with the most famous watch of all. And we're going to look at the face of the watches, the display, we're going to look at the back, we're going to look at the straps and keepers and buckles and everything in between. Here it is, the F-91 or F-91W. This is probably this is the most sold watch in the world. It has a classic digital Casio look. It's recognizable almost everywhere in the world. Famous for being worn by presidents and infamous for being worn by terrorists, and also infamous for being worn by me and probably by yourself. This F-91W packs in a very compact size a lot of features that we will see later on. But what for me is more important, and for other people watching this video, is that it brings us back to a time where this was a revolutionary watch. Affordable, or actually we could say very cheap digital watches became very popular by the end of the 1980s, mid to end of the 1980s, and this is the most common digital watch which still retains the same design as it had in the early 90s. So let's have a look at the face. Speaking of this, the color scheme is quite interesting. Look at the blue borders of the face. So we have this blue line all around the face of the watch, another blue line here, and the writings are in red, yellow, and the Casio logo is in white, and some indications are in white, such as the light button, the mode button, the alarm on off or 24-hour indication is also in white. Plus we have the water resist here, and can you see this very, very tiny letter U just under the S of the water resist? Look at the numbers. I like this proportion when it comes to digital watch numbers or digits. Can you see that they're different from the proportions of the digits or numbers of the W-800H? These are more like, they look like taller besides being thicker. So this, the F-91 proportions, are the ones I am more in love with. Yes. Let's have a look at the face of the slightly chubbier brother to the F-91. This is the W-59. As you can see, this is the third or maybe fourth video in which this watch is shown still with its tag on. I have recently done the unboxing video of this one, and I haven't worn it once yet. Can you see the differences between the two watches? The W-59 is slightly bigger, and also if we watch them side to side, it's thicker and the buttons of the W-59 are thicker. I made a video comparing these two, so you can look at that one to see a more in-depth comparison. The proportions of the numbers, to me, they look almost the same. Maybe the ones on the W-59 are a bit thicker, and I have the impression that they are rounder, but maybe it's all an illusion because they belong to a watch with a rounder face, so maybe it's all an illusion. You can see that this guy here, the W-59, has more or less the same color scheme, only that the perimeter of the face has a white line, whereas there's a more internal blue line surrounding all the display. The Casio logo remains the same in white. This one does not have the name of the model written on the face of the watch, whereas the F-91 does. This one has writings just like the F-91 in red, yellow and white, and we see the very comforting indication of water resist to 50 meters. So maybe this higher water resistance accounts for the slightly bigger measurements of the W-59. To my eyes, the W-59 looks better, but of course this is highly subjective. Let's have a look at the face of the W-800H, and as we were noticing before, of course this watch has bigger dimensions. As you can see, it's bigger than the F-91 and also bigger than the W-59. Of course, it is also thicker, and the buttons or pushers are bigger themselves. See, also they stick out a bit, just a tiny bit more than the W-59 and then the F-91. As we were saying, the digits on this one are like taller, and also there's more information on screen. As you can see in the W-59 and F-91, you have your day of the week, your day of the month, the time in this case displayed in a 24 hours format, whereas you can jump to AM PM format like this. The information on the W-59 and F-91 stops here, whereas on this one we have more information, such as the year, which many viewers will find pretty much useless because, well, we know what year we are. Then we have the day of the month and the month, so not only the day but also the month. This is kind of useful for me. Sometimes I mix the months up. We also have a bigger day of the week displayed in 3 letters instead of 2. And we also have the indication of the alarm. If it's on, SIG is for the beeping signal denoting the passing of each hour. If it's on or off, in this case it is off. And if the snooze alarm is on or off. So a lot more information on the display of this one compared to the other two. So we have seen the description of the face. Now let's get to the functions. The F-91 and the W-59 have basically the same functions. So we go to alarm mode, and we only have one alarm on these ones. We have no snooze alarm, so pressing this button turns the alarm on, and pressing it again, as you can see, turns the beeping signal on, so a little bell will appear on the screen. If we press it once more, we will have both the alarm and the beeping signal on. On to the next function, which is a stopwatch, and as you can see, we have minutes, seconds, and here we have tenths and hundreds of seconds. Start and stop with this button, but also if we let it run and then we clear it with this one on top is the clear button, but the stopwatch is still running. So when I press stop, the time will stop. I still see the first time displayed. I press it once more. If I press the clear button, I will see the second time displayed, so I can jot it down on a piece of paper. And then if I press the clear button one more time, the stopwatch will go to 0. So start and stop with this button, start and stop with this button. You clear with the top button here, but if you start and then clear, the first time will be displayed here, then you stop it, and if you press it, the clear button once more, the second time will be displayed, and then you clear everything. After the stopwatch, we go back to the home screen. And that's that. What about the light? Well, we will talk about the light later. It's pretty lame on these two, although it's not that bad. Let's have a look at the functions of the W-800H, and mind you that this watch has not been modified. There are apparently easy mods available for this one that will give you a countdown timer, and maybe a harder one can give you 5 alarms. I'm not sure about that. So home screen, 12-24-hour format. We have the alarm, but as I told you before, we have the possibility of setting the alarm, your regular alarm. This turns on the beeping signal for the passing of every hour. And also you can set this alarm to be a snooze alarm, as you can see from the indication here. So this means that the alarm will not go off just once, but after the first time it rings for like about 10 or 12 seconds, can't remember. It will be silent for 5 minutes, and then it will beep again, and then it will be silent for 5 more minutes and then beep again until it reaches the 30 or 35 minutes, can't remember. And this is the snooze alarm for those of you who have a hard time waking up. Notice this very, very useful feature. The local time is always displayed in every mode of this watch. Let's change mode. After the alarm, we have the stopwatch, and this is really beautiful for me. You have your local time here. Now, I don't know because I've never timed anything for more than an hour with this very watch, but I think that this is for the minutes, this is for your seconds, this is tenths and hundred of seconds, and here if you time something for more than 1 hour, I think the hours will be displayed. One more mode, it's the dual time. So we still have our local time displayed in the lower portion of the screen, which is beautiful. And the dual time, as you can see, can have different minutes from the local time. So you can set your dual time to a slightly, or even more than slightly, different time minute-wise than your local time. And then we go back to our home screen. So this has a lot of more functions than the F-91 or the W-59. Let's have a look at the casebacks. So here they are. W-59 in the middle, W-800H on your and on my left, and the F-91 on the right. So you can see that the W-59 is water resistant to 5 bar, which translates to 50 meters, which means that, well, if you're careful, you can also swim with this, and I know of many people who have swum with the W-59 without any problem. The F-91 says only water resistant, which means that you could only wash your hands and or wash the car with it. But I know of many people who have swum consistently with it without experiencing any kind of problem. And the W-800H is rated water resistant to 10 bar, which is your 100 meters, which is a watch that allows you to swim with it without any problem. With none of this, you are advised to go scuba diving. But I think that, although I think that maybe with the W-800H you could go scuba diving. Actually, I have seen a video in which there was a person going scuba diving with the F-91, and it showed the depth he was going with another diver's depth measuring instrument. So yeah, water shouldn't be a problem for any of these watches, but of course the W-800 will be more water resistant, W-59 a bit less, F-91 even less. Look at the screws holding the case back in place. The F-91 has the smallest screws, the W-59 being the one right in the middle, and the W-800H, I can't understand if its screws are the same as those of the W-59. I can't really understand if they're different or not. But for sure, those of the F-91 are smaller. Pushers we have already seen. It's always the W-59 in the middle. So F-91, the smallest pushers. W-59, a tad bigger. W-800H, the biggest. Thickness, you can see F-91, the thinnest. W-59, a bit thicker. W-800H, well, the thickest. As for the strap, this mounted on the W-59 is not an original strap. I made a video in which I show how to change the strap and how to put the strap on the W-800, so maybe have a look at it. I will put the link in the description box. Well, so let's not talk about this strap because it's not a Casio original. And the other two, as you can see, they are quite similar in thickness. I can actually perceive no difference, and the feeling of the strap is more or less the same. I think they're made of the same resin or plastic. The buckle on both of these watches is made of plastic, but there's this very lovely detail of the Casio logo engraved on both buckles. So it's plastic, but yeah, it's Casio plastic, so to say. The keepers on both, they're very similar, and the W-59 has this different design on the strap. These, I don't know how to call them, they're not proper holes. I like the strap of the W-59 better. As you can understand, I like the W-59 better than the F-91. Don't hate me for that, please. Measurements of weight. So the F-91 and the W-59 are very light. 21 grams for the F-91. 22 grams for the W-59. Maybe this piece of paper, no, it does not make any difference. Let's see the W-800, but keep in mind that this doesn't have the original strap. It's 43 grams, so more than double, but it's equally light. I mean, you almost don't realize that you are wearing it. Let's see a wrist shot, starting from the biggest. So my wrist is a 16.5 centimeters or 6.5 inch wrist. This is the W-800H. The strap on this one does not stick out from the keeper that much, but this is not original Casio, so it's a good strap. I think the watch looks a lot meaner with this strap. It looks almost like a G-Shock smaller brother. It looks tactical, if that word has any meaning. So this is the W-800H on a 16.5 centimeters wrist. Let's have a look at the classic F-91. As you can see, I have a very thin wrist, so this could be an ideal size for a watch for my wrist, but I've gotten so used wearing G-Shocks, squares, the smaller G-Shocks, that this one looks and feels too little for me, but actually it's the perfect size actually. So this is the F-91 F-91W. And now let's have a look at the W-59, still with its tag on. To me, this looks great. The measurements are very similar, but this to me looks much better. It also feels a bit better, particularly for my wrist, because I think the spacing between the holes is just correct for my wrist. I am wearing it on the, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th hole, I think. And to me, this looks really great. And what about these other two? These are two different versions of the F-91. This one, as you can see, because it has the name written on the face of the watch. And the W-59. This is an all black, gray and white version with no colors, with a NATO strap, and the keepers are made of metal. One is fixed and you can move the other up and down. The buckle is made of stainless steel. This came like this from the factory, from the Casio factory. I think this looks really, really cool. And also, I think that this version, the green and gold accents version of the F-91, looks cooler than the F-91 we are all used to. But maybe it's the novelty factor. measurements. Do we want to measure them? Yeah, of course. Otherwise, my training with the Maître Horloger would be totally wasted. So thickness of the W-59 is 8.7. Thickness of the F-91 is 8.5. Slightly slimmer, maybe because the W-59 has a higher water resistance. And of course, the thickest one is the W-800, which goes at 13.5. W-59, let's measure the lug to lug like this. W-59, 36.4. F-91, lug to lug, 37.9. Aha! So now this allows us to talk about the difference in how the strap attaches to the case of the watch. As you can see in the F-91, this one, the case almost embraces the strap, whereas in the W-59, the strap has two kind of horns that leave space to accommodate for the strap pin. So the difference in design makes the W-59 have a higher lug-to-lug measurement. Let's see the lug-to-lug of the W-800. I will measure it like this, 40.7, and this has, and the W-800 has a similar design to the W-59, so it has its horns making a bit of indent here for the strap to be attached. So F-91, W-800, W-59, W-800. Let's see the case width. Case width, so let's start with the W-59. I will take it right in the middle where there are no pushers. Right in the middle, it's 33.3, nice number. The F-91 is at 32.8, so a little smaller. And the W-800H is 36.6. Of course, it's the biggest one of the three. Now let's do a light comparison. Switch off the lights. 1, 2, 3. So let's have a look at the light of the W-59. I can't even get it to focus. So this is the light of the W-59, and it's almost impossible to see the seconds. You can barely see the minutes. Let's take the F-91, same position. Yeah, same thing. Almost impossible to see the seconds. The hour is clear, the minutes halfway. Let's see the W-800H, and you will be surprised, of course. The W-800H, this is very clear. The whole display is clearly visible. Lights back on. So the W-800 for just a little higher price is for me the winner of the three, but I must say that I do prefer the, it's 4 o'clock. I do prefer the proportions of the digits on the W-59 and on the F-91. There is something that goes against sort of an acquired aesthetic digital sense in the dimensions of the numbers of the W-800H. I think that's it. We will talk about the alarms in a future video, but for now this has been Wouldn't What You Don't Need. Oh, I never asked you to subscribe, but if you like what you see, why don't you subscribe? It will really help the channel. Bye! Ciao!